Welcome back to CBS This Morning. We continue to follow the very latest on the breaking news from Florida overnight. Shocking video shows the aftermath of a deadly partial building collapse. Part of this condo complex building came crashing down around 2 this morning. We're told at least one person is dead and at least 10 others are being treated, but there is still a lot of debris to sift through. This is a residential building located along the water on Collins Avenue in Surfside.
As we mentioned, at one point, a child was rescued from the rubble of that fallen building. An eyewitness described that moment to our station WFOR.
He was yelling, "Please don't leave me." So we tried to stay with him, and then I used my phone to flash the light on the backside of my phone to signal fire and rescue to come over. So he was just really panicked. He said that his mom was in there with him. His arm was pinned. There wasn't really a whole lot of conversation. It was just, like I said, it was just sheer panic. His mom, we couldn't hear her, couldn't see her, so we didn't know what status that she was in. He just, "Please don't leave me." So we told him, we're right here. We're not going to let you, be by yourself.
As we've said, there's so much police and rescuers don't know at this point. For more on this unfolding rescue operation, we're joined now by former Miami-Dade Fire Chief Dave Downey. Chief, good morning. Thank you so much for being with us.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Chief, you got 37 years in search and rescue. You went to the World Trade Center. You went to Hurricane Katrina. Can you tell us what these search and rescue teams are dealing with right at this moment?
Well, this is obviously a devastating event, and the first responders, are all trained at different levels. The initial responders would get in there and start doing the surface removals, getting those that are lightly trapped and assisting them out of the building. I was talking to some of the on-scene units. The stairs were compromised, so a lot of those that weren't injured had to be taken out via the aerial ladders that you see on the news there. As those lightly trapped get removed, then we start moving in with our technical search people to do the audio and visual and run the dogs, the canines, to look for those that are trapped in void spaces. That's what's going on right now, and removing those that are trapped in any void spaces, and all the while being aware of the possibility of a secondary collapse. There's still building that's there. So they're still cognizant of the fact that more of this building could still come down.
Hey, Chief Downey, it's Tony Dokoupil. The mayor of Surfside, in an earlier interview with our Manuel Bojorquez, said that they had sent the dogs in already, and as the mayor put it, they didn't get any hits, no hits from the dogs. What does that tell you?
Well, the dogs, the hit means the dogs are trained to find live survivors. And so they are looking for those scents. The initial run sometimes doesn't reveal anything. Then they'll get into more specific runs of the canines. They're continuing to run the dogs. They're a vital element of our search and rescue operation. And so they'll continue to run those dogs and check for any areas of interest and act on those.
And Chief Downey, Jerika Duncan here. I think the biggest fear is the enormous amount of life that could have been lost in this. But at this point, again, with all of your experience, do you have any idea what may have been a possible cause of this collapse?
No, it'd be truly speculation. They're going to rule out every cause that could be possible, looking at the utilities, looking at the structure itself. That'll be something that comes way after this rescue operation. That's going to be the focus right now.
Chief, you mentioned the concern about the possible further collapse. What the mayor told us was about a third of that building came down. Is there a process that the teams are going through right now in terms of trying to determine whether the rest of the building is safe? What's happening there?
Absolutely. So as part of the search and rescue element, and keep in mind, Miami-Dade Fire Rescue hosts one of the national search and rescue teams, one of the 28 national search and rescue teams. That elements of that team are already on scene, including structural specialists, engineers. This is what they do. They look at structures and figure out where can we work, where can't we work, what areas need to be stabilized in order to work and they're incredibly efficient and experienced in what they do. So this is going to be a long-term process because there's going to be areas that are going to need to be stabilized so that the rescuers can get into that. Because the last thing we want is any more collapse or any more injuries or loss of life.
Yeah, and as the mayor said, 100 units in that building. Former Mayor Miami-Dade Fire Chief Dave Downey. Chief, thank you again for joining us this morning.
Thank you for having me.